This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Bill, always appreciate talking with you. How you doing today?
Hey, guys.
Hey, we got a big baseball series this weekend, Arkansas, Kentucky. I never thought I would say that Arkansas, Kentucky would be for the overall lead in the SEC, but here we are. 4 teams have separated themselves in this conference, and the Hogs play 2 of them. They've got Kentucky this weekend. They got A&M to wrap up the regular season. It's too bad they don't play Tennessee this year, because that's always entertaining.
Oh, yeah. Tennessee's got to go down to Florida. Florida's kind of limping around a little bit. Big series for them. Kentucky, I don't know if you could say they're fading. They lost the series in Lexington to Tennessee, and I believe they just lost the series to South Carolina, right? I think so.
Yes, yeah. They lost the last game 10-0 in that series, so that would be I think that's one of the only times they've been blown out this year, which I guess might you were looking at probably as a as maybe a one-off thing, but we'll find out later on this week. I feel like Kentucky winning at baseball at the level that they are, well, it's not quite like Vanderbilt winning in football, because they've had some moments. I mean, Kentucky was good last year. They had a Golden Spikes winner in 2014. It's just, right now they might be the best northern team in college baseball, because I know Kentucky's the South, but in the SEC it's North.
Right. Yeah, good point. Good point. We're not counting the Eastern Seaboard like East Carolina, obviously, but you're talking about Northern. Probably so. Michigan historically is a good program. They're down a little bit since Coach Bakich left. IU has had some good baseball programs, but I don't think they're so good. Going into the year, I think Iowa was probably the best team, but I don't know that I would pick Iowa. They got the one kid who throws 100, but they don't hit the ball this year as well, so that's a good point.
Hey, you bring up some Big Ten schools there. I'd seen a report that the Big Ten is interested or wants to get into Texas, and that that there's potentially a lot of schools that are with the ACC that might get offers from the Big Ten or the SEC, and that the Big Ten wants to get into Texas, and that they might target Texas A&M. The Aggies joined the SEC to get away from the Longhorns. Now the Longhorns are in the SEC. Could you see a world where Texas A&M jumped to the Big Ten?
I don't think so. And you're 100% right. Most of the Aggies leaving was we beyond hate Texas and the way they looked down at us. But it was also a financial thing, much more financially opportunistic for them to join the SEC when they did. I do not see that happening. Now, I do see the Big Ten targeting Florida State to plant a flag in the state of Florida, which would make the SEC, which I don't think in the moment wants Florida State, perhaps have to play defense there and take. That's the checkers or the chess match I'm waiting to see. How and remember, they're in a collaboration together, which is legit. And that's about the future, and that's about the future money distribution from the schools, which is what's going to happen. So they're together, but that little move on the chessboard is going to be fun to watch.
I can imagine it would be. We also saw a report today that Jacoby Criswell, who I think he'd been beaten out for the number 2 job at quarterback at Arkansas, is reportedly transferring back to North Carolina, which was where he went for his first couple of years. And I think we brought this up with you last week when Henry Parrish rejoins Ole Miss after being at Memphis. Snacks Johnson, who had been a nickelback at Arkansas, he has transferred back to Baylor. This is kind of an interesting thing. It's like, you left the school to go find greener pastures only to find out that you might have liked where you were originally better to begin with. And maybe not every coach would welcome you back with open arms, but in these cases, they have been.
I was going to say, they're not obligated to take you back. Obviously, in these cases, they are. How about Tyler Barron, Tennessee defensive end from Knoxville, jumped in the portal a year ago for about a week, stayed, didn't go anywhere. A couple of months ago, transferred to Ole Miss. A couple of weeks ago, transferred to Louisville. Right now, he's visiting Miami. He's going to jump 3 times in one little 3-month period.
in 3 months, 3 different places. Now, I knew about, Caden Proctor going back to Alabama after a couple of months, but this is 3 schools in a month?
Yeah, and I mean, Miami's a visit. I don't know if he's going to do it. The way Miami's spending money right now, though, getting Cam Ward a couple of months ago and then get Gabriel Martinez, who's a beast of a running back out of Oregon State, they may get Tyler Barron. He's obviously shopping.
Wow. Hey, we're bringing up the idea of the basketball rivalry between Arkansas and Kentucky being taken up to a whole new level. And even, I mean, you can see it now in the reaction between fans on social media based on players that Arkansas is signing from the transfer portal and Kentucky kind of reacting to that. And we went, I think that could be the best rivalry in the SEC for basketball. Which rivalry do you put at the top in football right now?
Well, let me, since I've got a captive Arkansas audience, let me promise them one thing. I don't care what Coach Cal does or what Mark Pope does. Neither one of them will approach Nolan Richardson versus Rick Pitino 94-95. Not even in the same solar system. Just to make sure we all have history and perspective, it's not even comparable. What I witnessed back then. Now, you're right. It has a chance and probably will be a very exciting rivalry. Now, what was the question? Was it underrated football rivalry? Which one? What was your question?
So we had this topic. I think the number one rivalry in the SEC basketball right now is Arkansas-Kentucky, and especially with the coaching change. And in football, I got it at Alabama and Tennessee. Phil had Alabama and Auburn. I think Florida, LSU's close in there. But who do you have as the number one football rivalry in SEC football?
Well, it's easily Auburn and Alabama. It's the Iron Bowl. It's historic. It's relatively updated. Tennessee, Alabama is not all that updated, although Tennessee beat them for the first time a year ago since basically Mike Shula was there, literally. But no, though, the Iron Bowl is by far. And then I would say the cocktail party would be number 2.
Does a rivalry, or what about Alabama, Georgia? Does that qualify? Because they're not on the schedule every year. It's just we expect to see them playing each other in Atlanta every year.
I have to have a historical note, and there's not one. They don't play all that much throughout history. They play. I've watched a bunch of them. The most underrated rivalry is the Egg Bowl. I think, again, by a vicious margin. Underrated now.
Hey, I don't know how much of this NFL draft you watched with the 6 quarterbacks going in the first round. Is there anything out of those 6 guys? Do you see all 6 of them having success? We know that's usually not the case. It's kind of about what position you're in. Bo Nix might be in the best position going to Sean Payton with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, he's so much improvement out west when he went out there, which I got to admit I was a doubter. So good for him. Everybody's hyperventilating about Penix. Now, Michael Penix, I go way back with him because he was committed to Tennessee up here. And then when Jeremy Pruitt got the job, they dropped him. And he ends up at IU. He is injury prone. He meets Caleb DeBoer. He ends up at UW as a fantastic 2 years and just got picked higher than he should. I don't think he's a first-round talent. Love the story. Love what he's done. He's also a bit frail, and he's also very injury prone. I don't like to follow the media at all when they're hyperventilating about stuff. And, guys, frankly, I didn't watch much of the draft. It doesn't interest me. But I thought that was about the silliest move I could ever think of in the draft. I have no idea what commit that much resources, that many resources to one position, albeit quarterback, is lunacy.
Yeah, these quarterbacks, the first thing I texted Phil is, 3 of these guys that get hurt. If they're all trying to start and play, because you really need a chance to sit and wait for a year and learn. They don't hit the same that in college. You get hit in the pros, man. Those are trained killers. Those are trained assassins. And then you saw Anthony Richardson. He's not very smart. I'm not saying he's not smart. He's just a young quarterback. What happens? He gets hit, gets hurt, can't go on. You got to kind of get it between the ears before you start playing at that level.
Yeah, and Anthony Richardson is 6'4", 230. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a good-sized dude. Penix is 6'1", about 190. He may be a little bigger than that, but he is not well built. And you're right. the Assassins, no matter how well you're built, the Assassins are going to get you, and they're going to hurt you. But I worry about his durability, and he's had two significant knee issues.
Same thing with Jaden Daniels at Washington. I feel like the RG3 thing coming all over again. They don't have an offensive line. He's going to be running around. You got to hit your hot reads. You got to make sure you're on the same page, because he's not going to be able to take those hits like he did in the SEC.
And height-wise, he's 6'3 plus, but he's frail. He's maybe 200. I didn't check what they listed. I worry about that. Now, he is a spectacular open field player, but again, we're talking about outside linebackers who are 6'4", 250, who are faster than you and much bigger and stronger than you, and then downhill heat-seeking safeties who want to blow you up to Pluto, right? I worry about that with all those guys. I was the worry. Remember Bryce Young, 6 foot, 190. That's a concern.
I think situation is a lot to do with it. I don't know that he went into the bed. And when I look at situations, Bill, I think J.J. McCarthy him and Bo Nix might be in the two best situations, what they got going on in Minnesota. But I just don't think he's ready yet. I think McCarthy's a guy that needs to sit for a year or two.
He was so solid at Michigan. I just don't know if I like his high-end ability. I'm to be determined. I'm not going to be too critical here. I'm just not sure I believe some of the projections that I'm hearing.
Hey, Bill, let's end where we started. You mentioned about the rivalry between Nolan and Rick Pitino. What made that stand out? Apart from, it's two high-level coaches that have already been winning at a high level when they started playing against each other, coaching against each other. That's a bit different than Cal and Mark Pope, and I don't mean that as an insult to Mark Pope. It's just Cal's a considerably different level of success and is already in the Hall of Fame. But Pitino versus Nolan Richardson, what stood out?
First of all, those two teams, Arkansas and Kentucky, would destroy
physicality, right?
Arkansas and Kentucky today. Would mop the floor with them. It wouldn't even be competitive, I don't think. So both were national championship contenders. Both won national championships there. And for the first time in my life, I'm at the SEC basketball tournament. Kentucky, amongst themselves, outdraws everybody else. I'm at the Georgia Dome, 94-95. Arkansas has as many fans at that event as Kentucky. That is all I needed. I just listed 3 reasons that the current Kentucky and Arkansas can't even come close to.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.